Welcome to the Sulfurous Wetlands, a difficult mid-game dungeon that drops from the Grand Dragonfly enemy, which commonly spawns on the outskirts of the Godlands. It is a good source of any rainbow potion, as well as a consistent source of mana. The clear and the boss are quite difficult. I suggest doing this dungeon in a group as it can keep the phases short and make it more manageable. The TRoom is easy, but can still pose some challenge. It is not safe to AFK at any point during this dungeon. If the TRoom is activated while you are AFK at spawn, you will die. Additionally, some of the minions wander about randomly, so unless you've cleared the entire map, make sure you are alert. The dungeon drops a variety of UT items. The stat Bogwood Crook is engravable and has amazing DPS. Certainly one of the main reasons to run this dungeon. The Warped Mantle armor is easily outclassed by other tiered armors, and only marginally useful for solo night play due to its healing proc. The ring is interesting in being one of the few rings that deals damage when hit, similar to the eye ring from High-Tech Terror. The trap is a good damage dealing trap, but gives up any utility functions that most other traps have. A good early to mid game DPS trap. I'm not as familiar with the Tachis, but according to Realmeye, the Bramble Tooth is an upgrade from the T12, but you'll want to replace it with an in-game Tachi when you can. I'll quickly go over the clear. If you're in a group, typically someone will try to rush, but if they don't, just make sure you have a good path to retreat on. The main gotcha of the clear is the Swamp Stalker, which appears to be an ordinary tree until you walk near it. There are a number of enemies that will chase you. I'll showcase them here. They are quite easy to deal with if you have space to drag them, with easy to dodge shot patterns. I won't cover the stationary enemies in depth. Just watch your health and slowly clear through them. The two I will cover are the Bogjaws, which will attack shortly after you step over them, dealing 200 and 1 second paralyze, which by itself is not a danger. The last is the Bog Guardian, which once killed will spawn 2 successive small minions. The TRoom will become active after you destroy the Gilded Fruit, which will be marked by a yellow dot on your minimap after the boss is dead. Keep in mind that it can be activated at any time before that if someone stumbles upon it while clearing. The TRoom will shoot out radial shots and spawn 4 brambles that have 2 possible shot patterns. The first shot pattern is dense lines of shots connecting the brambles. The second is shotguns similar to the main shots. Be careful, as these shots can add up quite quickly. The next phase will start immediately after. There will be radial shots charging in the center, and a green arrow will appear, showing the safe spot. You will have to continuously run to each new safe spot during this phase, dodging the few bullets that do come out of the safe spot. Eventually, the green arrows will stop appearing, and you will have to find the safe spot based on the gap in the charging radial shots, as well as it being telegraphed by a fast-moving arrow shot. Just make sure you don't tank the entire row of slower-moving arrow shots that follow. After this, the TRoom will lie dormant, and you can kill it. Next, I'll cover the boss fight. It is a challenging fight with some high damage shots. I suggest you bring HP pots to keep yourself healed in case you tank too much. The boss fight is 2 phases, during which he will periodically change attacks. At 75% HP, he will spawn mines that circle the arena and shoot slow-moving projectiles towards the boss. And at 30% HP, he will switch to Phase 2 attacks, become armored, and flood a portion of the arena. You will likely only see a portion of his attack patterns each fight. During the first clip of this phase, I stood too far back and was unable to weave between the fast and slow shotguns. In the second clip, I worry less about the arena shots and stay pushed up to dodge. Here, the primary goal is to dodge the pointed Sicken shots, with a secondary goal of rotating or alternating to dodge the red bombs. This phase can be intimidating, but it is important that you don't back up too far, as the green bombs landing on the edges of the arena sicken. Stay pushed up and weave between the lineups. This phase can also be paired with Minefield, which adds another layer of danger. Be very cautious if you get back-to-back Minefield phases, as the shots in the rings can stack for a moment. Weaving between these shots takes some practice. Don't worry if you tank a few. but do try to dodge the 3 pointed Sicken shots that the boss targets at the nearest player. Careful going too far to the edges of the arena, but an interesting trick you can do if you take a shot is to stay inside that bullet, as you can't get hit by the same projectile twice. This next phase adds some more difficulty. Prioritize dodging the large circles of shots. The alternate version of this phase is perhaps a little easier if you rotate with the pattern. The shots will initially come out as indicators, giving you a second to move before certain death. This phase can go clockwise and counterclockwise, but I believe it has to go clockwise first. I like to stay ahead in my rotation and then stand still for a moment when the shots from the center pass me. But if you have a decent pet, you can just tank them. During this phase, focus on the single brown shots as they telegraph each lineup. I like to make small, calculated dodges during this phase, prioritizing dodging boss shots over arena shots. If you are solo during this phase, consider slowly rotating around the boss to dodge the targeted AoE bombs. If you're in a large group, just make sure to dodge the lineups. During this phase, I prefer to stay between ring 1 and 2. This is similar to the shotgun attack in phase 1, but now the shotguns boomerang back towards the boss. Weave in and out, making sure you don't run into the very high damage shots that make up the stationary rings. This phase is trivial with a group, as most of the shots don't pierce players, and will get absorbed by those around you. Do be careful that you don't sit on one of the bombs, though. If you aren't comfortable rotating in the very small gap this phase allots, I suggest backing up some and just pushing through each row. This phase is another that is trivialized with a group, as the bomb shots don't pierce. If you get stuck in one of the platforms flooded with shots, you don't necessarily have to Nexus. As long as you have high HP, you can back up and push through once the shots start to separate. Good luck mastering the Sulfurous Wetlands. It is a challenging yet rewarding mid-game dungeon, and will help you prepare as you look to mastering Exaltation dungeons.
A tree chased me and I didn't even realize it was behind me until it was too late. It sat on me.